Hi, my name is Daniel Campbell. I lead the UX design and research team here at InfluxData. Today, I'll be talking to you a little bit about the Developer Console. In particular, we'll take a look at what it is, how you can use it to manage your instance and your data, and we'll take a look at some of the resources that you can find that are accessible through it to help you in your use of the platform. So, what is the Developer Console? The Developer Console, also called InfluxDB UI, is essentially the UI for your InfluxDB instance. You can get there by going directly to cloud2.influxdata.com or by clicking on Login from the InfluxData website. The Developer Console is a place where you can manage your InfluxDB instance. Here, you can manage your account and billing details. You can examine your usage breakdown. You can view cluster details such as your region, your provider, and your org IDs. And you can invite new people into your organization and manage those members. Let's take a look at what this looks like in the application. This is the Developer Console. If you're coming here specifically to do administrative tasks such as managing your instance, then this is where you'll find your accounts and organization details. If you have multiple accounts or multiple organizations, you can also switch between them here. Let's say I wanted to get some of my previous bills. I would have to just jump to the billing page. If I wanted to invite somebody new to my organization, then I can just send them an invitation via email here. If I wanted to take a look at my usage breakdown, I could also come here. If I need some details about my organization to be able to use in a query or to provide to someone else in my organization, or perhaps to integrate with some other software, then this is where I would find those details, such as the provider, the region, the location, or the org ID. The Developer Console isn't just an administrative tool, though. Here you can do real work with your data. You can create and manage access tokens. You can ingest data with helpful guides for client libraries, Telegraph, and the CLI. You can browse your schema and even query the data that's in your buckets. With the powerful tools in our built-in IDE, you can author queries and save them for use later. And you can manage your automation with tasks and alerts. Let's take a look at some of these tools that are available for you. When you first come to the Developer Console, the first page you'll see is this Get Started page. Here, we have onboarding guides that will help you get started quickly with client libraries, cloud native data, CLI, and Telegraph. I'll talk a bit more about these later. If you need to start creating some tokens, however, you can come to the API token page where you can generate all access tokens or more fine-grained control tokens with the custom API token. Now, I did mention earlier that you can query the data through the UI. If you come to your Data Explorer here, let's take a look at this. I have all my buckets here. I can select, say, this system metrics bucket. I can see the measurements in that bucket. I can see the fields and the tags. And as you see, I'm exploring the schema of the data here and clicking on things. It's actually building out a query for me without having to write a single line of Flux. This query, if I run it, I'm able to see the data in my bucket. If you do know a little bit of Flux or a lot of Flux, and you want to be able to learn even more about it or be able to just build more powerful queries, we have a full integrated Flux library here. This shows you the documentation for each of the functions in Flux. It shows you the arguments that are needed. And just by clicking on one, you can get that inserted into your query. Queries that you build this way, you can save and retrieve them later. Or you can save them as dashboard style. If I would save some of these as dashboard styles and have them appear on my dashboard, then I can just come to the dashboard later and view that data as a dashboard. One of the other things that's really useful for developers within the UI is the ability to see your scheduled tasks. And if you're not familiar with what tasks are, they're basically a schedule to run your queries. If I have some tasks that are running on our schedule, I can come in here to see how they're doing. I can see if they're active, inactive. I can see if there's errors that have been thrown. I can even dive into the logs and see exactly when the task started, if it actually completed successfully, how long it took, and I can use this as a debugging tool to make sure that my tasks are running as expected. So let's take a look at some of the other helpful tools that are inside of InfluxDB UI. The developer console is also a great place to find assistance. If you're just getting started, there's the Quick Start onboarding guides. If you're trying to author queries, there's the Flux library. You can search documentation from within the application. You can check the status of your cluster. You can find links to community resources such as Slack or our forum. And if you need to reach out to support, you can open a ticket directly from within the UI. Let's take a look at these things. Now, earlier I mentioned these onboarding guides. These are basically quick start guides that can get you up and running with the language of your choice in about 5 minutes. It'll walk you through installing the dependencies, creating a token, initializing the client, writing your first bits of data into your buckets, querying that data, and even running a transformation on that data. If you want to go even further, then of course, you can go to the Data Explorer, where you can start building out even more complex queries on the data that you've written. If you want to try to learn Flux more, then we have this full Flux library. Beyond that, you're able to search the documentation from within the UI. And if you need even more help, we have the Help and Support panel in the bottom left corner. Here, you can find a link to the facts. You can find the status page, which will let you know the status of your cluster. You can find links to the documentation, and you can even open a support ticket from within the application. Enter in the subject, the severity, and a detailed description of what the problem is. Beyond that, we have links to community resources, such as the forum, our Slack channel, and InfluxDB UI. If you do need to request a proof of concept, we even have a link for that here too. So what does the future look like for the developer console? Well, a few things we have coming upon our roadmap are multi-language support in the built-in IDE, specifically for SQL, Python, and JavaScript. The ability to have a bit more control over who has access to what in your instance. The ability to rerun your tasks easier from within the UI and build a better alerting. And the ability to call your scripts that you save from an API endpoint. However, all of this doesn't get built on its own. As I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, I lead the UX design and research team. We are constantly talking to our users like you and trying to find out what you need to be successful in your work. So, we definitely want to hear from you. We run regular research interviews. We have micro surveys that pop up within the application. And also, we have our very vibrant Slack community. If you can be part of any of those, you'll be very highly appreciated by us and our team. Thank you.